come to you today as someone who carries within him the true aspirations of Zeon.
Hello everyone, my name is Zeon, you are my remnants, and welcome to the Messy Zeon Shop. And in today's video we're going over my Wasteland cosplay from Megacon Orlando 2019. I'm very tired. Alright, here's a look at my costume. Like I said, me and my mother did a Wasteland style themes. Now my costume has a lot more influences from video games and things like that than hers did. So we're going to go over everything on this costume. I learned so much doing these, and I had so much fun. And again, these costumes were more of a thrift store, wish.com, Salvation Army, kind of find what you have and make it kind of thing. So let's go over this. So first, my helmet. We have this motorcycle helmet that my dad actually gave to me. My dad, he buys and sells a bunch of old stuff, and he found this and he said, hey, can you use this for something? And I said, sure, I can figure something out. So I've had this for like a year now and finally decided to do something with it. You'll notice a lot of this, there's a lot of this sand color around all the edges of the piece. This was done with Tamiya Desert Yellow with an airbrush, and that's all around here, and then black and brown wash for the helmet. But you see here, I have F ferals, because I hate feral ghouls in Fallout 3, and when I was a kid, I tried to play Fallout 3, and when you got into the subway, I had to stop playing because I got so scared of those stupid ferals, and then going, and then they jump at you, and so yes, F ferals on the helmet. This is how many ferals I've killed. This was done using a cutting bit on the Dremel. And more airbrushing of the Desert Yellow. And I like this helmet because on the very top it says Raider. That's what the helmet said when I got it, so I left it on there as it made sense. And we go over to the right side of the helmet. I got some, what are these things called? U brackets. And I got an old Harbor Freight flashlight. And I basically screwed it into the helmet. Because if you're going to make something look like you actually screwed it in the Wasteland, you might as well do it in real life. So there's that. That, of course, works. Then we come down to this gas mask here. Now, I've had this gas mask as well for about a year and some change. I was at the local flea market, and this guy was selling a real working gas mask, and we got him down. I think I got this for like $5. And same thing, we did the airbrushing around the edges. We did some silver rub and buff on the metal parts, and I did scratch it up prior with a very high grit sandpaper, so that would come out and you would see all these scratches are actually in the metal of this, because this is a real gas mask, like I said. And used a bunch of different colors for the weathering. We used burnt umber and some browns and stuff like that. The lenses are probably one of my favorite parts of this costume, because I was able to figure out how to make lenses that you can see through but people can't see in. And that was a combination of privacy tint for your home windows where people cannot see in. They see the reflection. So you ever walk by big buildings and you see a mirror of yourself but the people can see out? Well, that's what that is. So I used that and some red sheet. I don't even know what it is. I'll post it here, a picture of it. I got it on Amazon. It was red paper length sheets of transparent red film. And so it was the privacy tint, and then on top of that, the red film. And believe it or not, this is actually way easier to see out of than my my Guardian Con Titan armor, believe it or not. So it was actually worked out really well. It does get very sweaty inside the gas mask at points, but I did find that it was easier to kind of breathe in deeply and get rid of the humidity from my lenses, but it didn't fog up as bad as my Titan armor did, I feel like. Because this is a real gas mask. I feel like I need to remove this piece down here for more ventilation, and maybe screw through these holes here for better ventilation as well. Since I'm not using it for its design purpose, I think that may help with the ventilation issue. But overall, I wore it for a good amount of the time, but it did get very sweaty in there. Alright, let's take a look at my body armor. Now, of course, my body armor is based off the New California Ranger armor from Fallout New Vegas. I've always loved that armor, always wanted to make it, and I got inspired to make it by watching a couple YouTube videos. This was a template that I found online. I had to extend some of the things for my own body, because the template I found was way too small. And this was, of course, made out of EVA foam. As you can see, all the EVA foam stuff here. Underneath the armor, there is the full template, and then this thicker foam was put on top. And then the edges were rounded off with the Dremel, and of course heat sealed everything. The black areas, that's all airbrushed. The damages were done with different bits of the Dremel, like the cutting wheel and sanding bits and grinding bit to make these bullet holes here. Where the bullet holes are, you may see some indents going up. That was done with a lighter, so you can actually feel the indent going up. Of course, I used Zeonremnants Police Department Riot Squad, because that's the best Riot Squad there is. Number 12, because that's the day of the month I was born. And Silver Rub and Buff for the damages. We have, I think it was Burnt Umber and Black Paint for the weathering. And the green that was used for this particular armor is Krylon Emerald Green Gloss. I forgot. Oh, I used this for my Iron Wreath a couple years ago when I did that. So I had a bunch of it left over because the Iron Wreath is a super small gun. And I said, you know what, let me add some color to this. And plus, I think in Fallout New Vegas, there are some green body armors for the... Actually, I think they're all green. I don't know, I'm colorblind, leave me alone. Alright, let's get on to this coat here. This coat I purchased on Wish.com, and actually, funny enough, I got refunded on this because the sleeves were way too short, and they just sent me my money back. I didn't have to send the coat back or anything, so that worked out great. It was very hard to battle damage this particular coat because the material is very thick. It's like a felt almost, and it was very hard to, one, make the damages, and two, have them show up so you could see them. If you see right now, you can see the damage, and that's because I airbrushed the edges, all of the weared areas, with that desert yellow from Tamiya. Like I said, that paint really came in handy on this build because you were able to go ahead and now highlight these areas and see it, because I tried to use brown acrylic paints and brush it in, and this felt just soaked it right up, so that didn't work at all. So what I end up using to go ahead and battle damage this coat was the sanding bit on Dremel on really high. That's how I did all the edges. Of course, some scissors to cut some of the buttons. I cut all the buttons out because they looked ugly, except for the button on that arm. And I used a drilling bit, a wood boring bit, I think is what it's called, and just trying to scrape, especially down here on the bottom. I wanted the bottom of the coat to be really worn. And the Dremel was the main thing that really helped out. And of course, just like on my mother's armor, or coat rather, I have another piece of fur that was left over from the fusion rifle I did for a commission last year. And then also I got my own Air Force patch here. I think this is Staff Sergeant rank. I think I could be wrong. I'm a bit rusty on my ranking of the Air Force. It's been a while. And just more desert yellow. On the left, I wanted to put a skull on the left. This was my little, like I said, tributes to some things on my armor from the game Rage. Rage 1 in particular, if you had the collector's edition of it, I think, or the deluxe edition, whatever it was called, you had this particular armor, and it was all high-tech, but it had a cow skull, or some kind of skull, on the shoulder, and I was like, that would look really cool to do. So I went and I got this off of eBay. This skull was like $10, the foam skull, and I went in and I re-weathered it, and I weathered it with black and brown shoe polish, and it looks awesome as hell. This is a belt that I bought from Salvation Army for really cheap, and then I used Chicago screws to screw into the helmet and into the coat here. Now, in hindsight, this would have been better as a snap button, but I didn't have snap buttons at the time. I ended up learning how to use them later. So for the bottom of the Chicago screw, a lot of super glue and E300 or 3000 was used to keep this screw in the coat. So learn from my mistakes. Don't do that, or put a thick piece of leather under it for support or something. All right, let's get into my pants here, my pantalones. And these are blue cargo pants I bought from Goodwill. My roommate Jordan, he asked me, hey, you're wearing all black. Why are you wearing blue cargo pants? I said, I'm in the Wasteland. I don't give a damn what color pants I'm wearing. They actually looked really cool together. Again, ripped with Dremel and the boring bits and desert yellow airbrushing. That's basically it for this. And then I got this canteen. So I went to the military surplus stores. I had to buy some boots for this costume, and I bought this canteen, and I actually did use this for water. I had this clip on the cargo pants, so I figured I would just clip the canteen to it. And again, just weathered this with black and umber acrylic paints, and I just airbrushed a little bit of the top of the can, and I airbrushed the all the lines and everything. Going down here to my knees, which was one of my favorite parts of this costume, but they on both my knees, my little screws came out. And that's why you don't use cheap-ass flea market super glue for your cosplays, ladies and gentlemen. I should have just hot glued them in. So I have to make new ones and replace them, but that's not too hard. These knee pads are based off of Bloodhound's knee pads from the game Apex Legends. Again, the same green used for the armor, chrome yellow to get a little bit of color, more color into the costume, and again, black airbrushing with silver rub and buff, and these are metallic gray from Tamiya, these nuts here. Now, going down to my boots. These boots I bought from a local military surplus store. They were like $30, and they're actually pretty new. And again, burnt umber and black splotches for the mud effects. And then for all of the folds and everything, I folded the boot up as I was wearing it, and I airbrushed some khaki paint from Tamiya into all the crevices and all the seam lines and everything to give it a worn look. It's not as dirty as it probably should have been because I didn't want to go overboard on it, but in the future I might be adding... Oh, and I silver rub and buffed all of the little lace loops things here. They were the same color as the boot, and I wanted some more variation on that. I think that about covers it. Oh, no, wait, my butt pack. We gotta show the butt pack. Hold on, I have a butt pack. I just like saying the word butt pack because that's what it was called in the Army Navy surplus store, and I know it's called something different, but that's what they had it as. So we have my butt pack, and this is one of my favorite parts of this costume because a guy I went to high school with is currently living with me. I'm renting a room to him, and his name is Jordan. His last name is Jordan, and he was in the Army. Well, I went and I found this butt pack at the Army Navy surplus store, and look whose name is on the back of the pack. Jordan. So I had to buy this. This was like $9.99, so I bought this, and I told him, I said, hey, I'm going to write a note. I killed for this pack, pointing down to this guy, Jordan. I killed Jordan for my butt pack. And same thing, airbrushing the desert yellow, burnt umber, and black, and also rub and buff for the buckles. I added some straps and some snaps. This black right here, that's what I've added so that it could be attached to the back of my coat. And just another place for storage for these costumes. Oh, the only other thing I did, and I don't know if I mentioned it on my mother's cosplay, I did use bleach as well to wear, put some wear on these pants. Let's see, so like right here, that's bleach stain. That's a bleach stain, just kind of all over randomly. You'll see some different stains. That's from the bleach. So, and, oh, I forgot one more thing. All right, and of course I was wearing gloves. These are gloves I bought off Wish. I have gone ahead and weathered these as well, of course. Same thing, desert yellow on the seams. Different colored paints on the glove. Now, I found out that these gloves, and actually just a solid rule in general, if you're trying to clear coat something that's like a rubber material, normally it does not work. The rubber and the paints don't bond together and they stay very sticky. That is what happened to these. I was able to use some Mod Podge to actually go ahead and reseal them, and that worked. But for some reason on the other glove, the Mod Podge decided to like dry really fast and clump up together, and it just looked really nasty, and not nasty in a cosplay way. It just looked weird. So I wore this glove on my left hand, and on my right hand, I used the rest of the tank top that I made the wraps for our guns, and it had already had bleach stains on it I used it to bleach the pants and everything, and I just airbrushed again some desert yellow onto it, and I just made little, some rips in it and a thumb hole, and that was my right hand. So that worked out. So all in all, I'm super happy with this costume. It was a learning exercise in weathering different types of clothing material, using my airbrush for the first time on a cosplay, and I'm starting to really love the airbrush. I'm learning how to use it more and better, and making sure I keep it clean so it lasts a very long time. The only other thing I have for this costume, of course, is my weapon of choice, which, if you saw my mother's cosplay, is a crossbow as well, but it's a gigantic crossbow. Let's take a look at that. And this is it here. This is a thing of beauty. Probably the best paint job on any prop I've done so far. This was a Nerf gun. It does still fire. And I just did so many different things on this. So many different colors, different effects. There will be more in-depth videos on this gun along with my mother's crossbow that you will see. So go ahead and make sure you subscribe for that content. I will do one video on both weapons because they are both Nerf repaints. And I want to just do them together and show you what I did to make these guns go from this to this. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and like it and comment down below, what do you think of this cosplay? Do you think it needs to be dirty? I tried to dirty it up as much as possible, and it was really difficult to weather this stupid Wish trench coat here, but I think I did a pretty damn good job of it, if I do say so myself, for my first time. So subscribe for more creative content if you want to see future videos on all these props and cosplays I made for Megacon. I will see you all at GuardianCon in July. Please stop by the booth, buy some stuff for me. I'll be having t-shirts and props for sale. We're going to be doing a raffle on our Drake's Promise signed prop by a bunch of different Destiny YouTubers. All the money for that goes to St. Jude, so I hope you guys support that as well. If you stop me at Megacon, thank you so much for stopping me and taking a picture. You guys gave a lot of great compliments, and hopefully I see some of my cosplay tagged on Instagram or what have you. But thank you so much for stopping me. Me and my mom had a blast, and it was really awesome to cosplay with my mom. My mom is the coolest mother on the planet. Mom, I love you. Thank you so much. And until next time, everyone, Zeon!